Evening, everybody. This is Danny Mathematics. Today, we're just going to do two examples of how to solve two-step and multi-step equations to where we're actually solving for the value of the variable that you see. In this case, the variable is m, and in this case, the variable over here is x, okay? So as I go through it, I'm actually going to write down some steps on the side that you can easily follow that will help you solve any equation that is just like these. And once again, one thing about math, it doesn't matter what values that you have, it's the same concept and it consists the same steps. As long as you do the same steps, you will get the right answer, okay? So the first thing that we have to do in order to solve an equation, I'm gonna put step one, is to draw a fence through the equal sign. So draw a fence through equal sign, okay? That's all we need to do first. We need to draw a fence through the equal sign. So I'm doing that right now. And the reason why is because we want to divide the room. That's what I call it. I call it dividing the room. So this is step number one. Okay, step two. Okay, step two is to figure out what type of relationship does the coefficient and the variable have with one another. Because as you can see, 9 is a coefficient because it's connected with the variable, which is m. So they are in a relationship. But right now, we want to identify what type of relationship is 9 and m is in, okay? So this is the relationship between the coefficient and the variable. So let me just write that. So I'm gonna abbreviate coefficient, all right, slash variable. What type of relationship are they in? So I'm just gonna put a little heart representing the relationship, okay? Now, it's not saying 9 divided by m or m divided by 9, it's saying 9 times m. So their relationship is based on multiplication. So I'm just gonna put a multiplication sign. Their relationship is based on multiplication. But of course, in order for us to find out the value of m, eventually 9 and m are gonna have to break up. So the breakup, if their relationship is based on multiplication, then that means that their breakup is gonna be based on the opposite of multiplying, which is dividing. Okay? So in this case, as you can see, it's 9 times m, which our relationship, the relationship between the coefficient and the variable is multiplication, and whenever they break up, we're gonna have to divide, okay? So we're done with step 2. Step 3 is to identify the size and label the size. All right, step 3. All right, so remember, 9 and m are in a relationship. So let's just go ahead and label this side as the relationship. And remember, guys, the relationship is just the operation between the coefficient and the variable. 9 is the coefficient, m is the variable, okay? So I'm gonna label that side as a relationship, and I'm just gonna put a heart on the top, right? As you can see, 14 and negative 13 are not attached to a variable, right? So I just call those numbers the single numbers, right? Or the single people, okay? So on this side, I'm gonna label this side as the singles, all right? Because these numbers are constants, and I also call those singles. So you see what I'm going? I'm separating the room where everybody's in a relationship is on one side, and everybody that's single is gonna be pushed to the opposite side, okay? Now, step 3 is to move everything to its appropriate side. So, okay? So label sides and combine like terms. So I already labeled each side, and now I have to combine like terms. 14 and negative 13 are like terms because they're both singles. Negative 13 is already on the single side, so it's good. But 14 is not on the single side. It's on the relationship side, but as you can see, nobody is attached to 14. No variable is attached to 14. So we have to move 14 to the single side. The opposite of positive 14 is negative 14. So I have to subtract 14 on both sides. okay? I'm subtracting 14 on both sides. So 14, which is a single, canceled out on the relationship side. Now I added it to its like term, which is negative 13. Once again, whenever you have negative numbers, just add them like positives, but keep the negative sign. So 13 plus 14 is 27, but in this case, since they're both negative, it will be a negative 27. So now I have 9m equals negative 27. Okay, now we're good. 9m is on the relationship side. They're in a relationship. Negative 27 is a single number. It's on the single side. Everybody is on its appropriate side. Okay, now the next step is for the breakup. Step 4 is to break up the relationship. All right, step 4 is to break up the relationship. And when we break up the relationship, we can find out the value of the variable, okay? So once again, 9 and M gotta break up. Let's just say 9 cheated on M on Instagram and M don't wanna be with 9 no more, so they gotta break up. So remember, their relationship were based on multiplication because it's saying 9 times M. So if their relationship is based on multiplication, that means that the breakup is the opposite of multiplying, which is dividing. So the person that's breaking up with M is 9. So I have to divide both sides by 9 in order for 9 to break up with M, or M to break up with 9. So 9M divided by 9 is just M. All right? And negative 27 divided by 9 is negative 3. So after M broke up with 9, M found its true value in itself, right? Let's just say that. So M, the true value of M is negative 3. And of course, if we plug in negative 3 as M into this equation, it will all equal 13, okay? So that's how we do that one. Let's go on ahead and go to number 2. Okay, same thing. I'm just gonna follow the same steps, okay? Draw a fence. I'm gonna draw a fence. Going down the equal sign. Boom. So I'm separating the room, okay? Now, also, they want us to identify the relationships, okay? If there are any relationships. I actually see 2 relationships. I see 4x and I see 4x again, right? In both relationships, right, the relationship is based on multiplication. So I'm gonna draw a heart and I'm gonna put the multiplication sign. Because it's not saying 4 divided by x or x divided by 4, it's saying 4 times x. So the relationships are based on multiplication, which we can also identify that the breakup at the end is going to be the opposite of multiplying, which is going to be dividing. Okay, so we're done with step 1. We drew the fence and we identified the relationships, okay, and what type of relationships between the coefficients and the variables, okay? All right, step number 3, we gotta label the sides. Now, here are the 2 relationships right here, guys. You see that there's a 4x, right? That's a relationship, and a 4x, that's a relationship. So since both relationships are on the left side, we might as well label the left side as the relationship side. Because remember, the relationship is the operation between the coefficient and the variable. Okay, so I just like to call that the relationship side. And if that's the relationship side, the opposite side, which is the right side, has to be the single side, where all the single numbers go. Okay? So now, once again, we labeled the sides and we got to combine like terms. Okay? Like terms. 4x, or 4 times x to the first power, and 4x, right, which is 4 times x to the first power. They are like terms. So I have to combine those terms together. Let's go ahead and combine those terms together. So now I have 4x plus 4x is 8x. So now we have 8x plus 14 equals 38. okay? And I'm just gonna draw the line through here. Equals 38, right? Once again, this is the relationship side, this is the single side, right? Now, if you notice, there is one value that is not on its appropriate side. Okay, it's one value that's not on its appropriate side, which is 14. 14 is not on its appropriate side, right? Because it's a single. So I have to subtract 14 on both sides because it's the inverse of plus 14. So let's do that. So I'm going to actually subtract 14 on both sides so 14 can combine with its like term of 38. So positive 14 and negative 14 cancels out. So now on this relationship side, I have 8x, and on the single side, I have 38 minus 14, which is 24. Okay? And remember, we still split. All right? So we're done with step number 3. Now, what we have to do is break up the relationship. Break up the relationship. That means I got to break up 8 and x because they are in a relationship, because they are connected to one another, right? Once again, their relationship is based on multiplication because it's saying 8 times x. But for them to break up, we have to divide. So the number that's breaking up with x is 8. So I got to divide both sides by 8. 8x divided by 8 is just x. And then of course, 24 divided by 8 is a positive 3. It's a positive 3. All right. So your answer is x equals a positive 3. Okay. These are just 2 examples of how to solve multi-step equations. I will come out with more examples later in the week. Thank y'all, and I will talk to you next time.